by showing the weight of the car or the armature. As you can see, it's 11 pounds. Put it on the track and get some measurements on the static pull as it goes into the shaded gate. You can see it climbs up here at a maximum to about 14 pounds. And you can see 12 on it easily. Now we'll let it go, and you can get some idea of the thrust by the way it enters and leaves these three shaded gates. Might be interesting for you to note as we do it a second time, the front of these magnets are coated in green. That means north. And the front of the gate is a north side. So what we have here is north attracting north. You might like to see what would happen if we reverse the armature and come up with a south poles going into the gates. You will see that it will reject the south poles and throw the car back out.
Do you have an extra copy of this? Or is this it?
I was doing some graduate work at Vanderbilt University. And one of the physics teachers made a comment that enabled me to understand that magnetism was caused by the movement of an electron, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, if that's true, there's some important things we should be able to do with it. And I began to investigate it right then. I've been pretty fortunate in that some of the things I've found out have stood up theoretically. To come back to when I followed through on it, I had a certain amount of electronics in the Navy. And one of the things I developed there was a code machine, a crypto machine, right? I began to find that I could do some things that not everybody did. In fact, when I came back to the States, I was at Pearl Harbor on the Commandant's staff. They quick caught me when I flew into Miami. And wanted me to head up the crypto research center in D.C. But the war was over and my patriotism waned considerably. So I didn't take them up. I had been thinking on this business of what I could do with the electron. I felt there's real opportunities there. Even though I hadn't run into anybody that was working exactly as I worked. The best work that I found was by a Nobel Prize winner.
Was that Richard Feynman?
Yeah, you know about him.
Yeah, his 3 volumes of physics. Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about exchange forces.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he agreed with what I thought. So these were the best thing I ran into, because he doesn't dodge around. He's trying to make things clear, and he'd go up and teach it every year, you know.
Right.
So I felt that he and I thought alike enough to make it important for me to study his methods, so forth. And he wrote in a very clear. You're familiar with his work?
Yeah, generally, yeah. I'm not a physicist. Yeah.
Well, the things he said enable me to save a lot of time not horsing around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had a fella that worked with me here for a while that was a graduate student over here, and he could do almost anything electronically. He took some parts from a radar system on a destroyer that had been sold for junk. And he took that and made a recorder that we could use to photograph magnetic fields. We soon began to try to use it in various ways. Here's the kind of pictures we could make of magnetic fields. Now, to get this picture, we used the mapping unit that he built from the destroyer parts, and we would have our sensing unit going back and forth on the mapping units that he made. And this is a picture of the field when it goes through what I call a magnetic gate, which we learned how to make.
Yeah.
And the magnetic gate would fire when it went through this gate. And this is a picture of it when it fires. Most people don't know that the magnetic field fires.
Like a pulse?
Yeah. See this here. That brought on considerably more talk. We mapped various magnetic fields for about a 2 years' time. And tried to understand it. I finally ran out of money, and he went on to other things, like being the chief engineer for a telephone company, stuff like that. It was pretty difficult for me to explain to you at this stage in life all the things we did. But believe it or not, IBM loaned us about $10,000 worth of equipment. And I never knew them to do that in any other case.
Yeah.
The professor that was working with me was a very famous man. I think he was the PhD that was in the airplanes that carried the atomic bombs. He'd go down and activate the system when the drop occurred. Is a very good friend. I worked with him, or he worked with me, believe it or not, for about 12 years.
Yeah.
And we ground out a book that we had published. I'll get a copy of it, let you see it here.
Okay.
It's recorded in the Library of Congress and copyrighted. I found that the gate, there wasn't anything in physics that would compare with that.
Yeah.
Very difficult to explain this stuff.
Yeah.
See, I was real fortunate in having someone like this graduate student
Yeah.
that could make or do almost anything to make my stuff.
Right.
After I saw it fixed, he didn't know he was going to get this, you see.
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't know what to do with it when he got it. I kept insisting that we do such and such, and they went along with me.
Yeah.
The more we did, the deeper we got in the hole.
Yeah.
You see, to begin with, at the university here, they didn't know that you could make a gate. They didn't know that this thing took place in the gate. And I had the privilege of having the head of the physics department to attack my work. Real helpful, you know. He's paid by the state, and he's attacked in private enterprise.
Yeah.
But as head of the physics department, he's God.
Yeah.
See? So, despite that kind of help, I managed to get along.
Yeah.
You see, he doesn't know that the magnet will fire.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what you can do with it when he doesn't believe it can fire in the first place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Did Tom show you that book by chance?
I haven't seen the book. No. I've seen a lot of the. You know, in Tom's book, he describes what you do. Energy from the vacuum. I've read that, and I read some of your papers, some of your older papers, and I've seen one of your videos where you had the little cars running down the track.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And Tom did say that what you're involved in now is more known in mainstream science, and I believe it's called spintronics, isn't it, or something?
Yeah. I had stuff built on that, but before the physicists stole it, and
Yeah.
great amazement, you know,
Yeah.
that they had spintronics.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know whether I'm giving you a coherent picture of things or not. It's not easy.
The magnetic gate, is there a way to trigger it? Or does it occur naturally?
It occurs naturally, and you can photograph what happens. Well, I had a dean here at the university that he used to have me to talk to the graduating students. And
he'd do that each year. I asked him why he didn't give me the freshmen so that he was afraid I'd ruin them. But he's been a good friend. He wrote a book on this kind of energy in one thing or another.
Yeah.
Was used as a text all over the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely demonstrate to you how to use this energy. One thing that doesn't get in the record, I guess, is that I've spent an awful lot of time in libraries. And one reason I came here was to use the university library. I always had a feeling that I'm going to find something more than is bandied around, you know.
Yeah.
I've come up pretty much dry because a lot of this stuff doesn't get into the libraries, believe it or not. You see, we have some misconceptions that we've embraced.
Yeah.
And we stick to them very closely. That was what I meant whenever I asked them, why don't you give me the freshmen instead of the graduates?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Seeing around corners is very difficult to do. And I think we're beginning to realize at this time that just doing the accepted thing and the thing that's kosher doesn't solve all our problems.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It doesn't solve our energy problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
And I've known that for years. I figured that whenever there wasn't any use of walking into the traffic when gas was cheap, but whenever it gets to be $2 a gallon, they might listen to me.
Yeah.
I think they're beginning to listen, but when people have been perfectly content to do everything the same old way for years and years, and they made millions doing it, pretty hard to argue with.
Yeah.
Right? I think we're fortunate in that the Lord has given me an understanding of certain things. And that it can help in this kind of a time.
Yeah.
And that's probably the only reason he gave it to me.
Yeah.
So I don't take credit for having a massive intellect or anything of that sort. I just think what I've been given. And it looks like pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Tom has been one of the fellows that has been able to appreciate the way I work. There's some people use the insult the patient method, you know. You've seen that won't work with me. Well, maybe we should go down to the lab and see what's going on.
Here.
I have a movie somewhere of this where it runs the whole length, and I put a lead block on this and it tows it.
Wow. Wow, look at this.
I didn't have enough magnets to finish that one.
Wow. Mm. That's big. Hmm.
get enough magnets to finish that one.
Yeah.
I went before the appeals court in Washington when we were applying for a patent, you know.
Yeah.
And I took this as one of the things, and I put it on a cart that we got from the mail room,
Yeah.
like a grocery cart, you know, and I had different stuff at different levels, so on. So when I went in, they put me on first, so I ran the thing.
Huh.
And
Slide it?
yeah,
You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Which way? You
hit them.
all set?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not through putting magnets to that one. See, it has a second line of magnets here.
Oh yeah.
Those are cut magnets. I have a diamond saw that will cut them. I'm not through building this one here yet. This embodies the principle of the whole thing. See, it'll run either way. You want to catch it here and see how much force it generates.
Okay. Significant. It's a lot.
See?
Yeah.
And this has been made for quite a few years. I showed this at engineering conference at Atlanta, and I had PhDs that stood at my booth and watched that thing 3 solid days.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how it works?
Well, I will in this case. See, these curved pieces are made of magnets. And here we have some assemblies. You see, this one here starts with one color and this another color. So it's two different assemblies. And then there's magnets here underneath that the poles here buck out with the poles up here. It's a fairly intricate thing.
Yeah, I can see that. How long has this been? How long have you had this one built?
About 20 years.
Okay.
I could make this one longer, but it'd be too heavy for me to
Right.
carry around to
Right.
shows.
And you do the machining of the magnets yourself here, do you? Or have somebody else do them?
No, I have a diamond wheel
Yeah.
that I can use to cut magnets.
I see. How many patents do you have, Howard?
I don't know. You know, when I was with the atomic energy, they got some few patents.
Yeah.
And my boy went up to a patent office in Illinois and tried to get some of them to read. And they still, some of them, they just use the numbers on, they won't publish it.
Oh, they're classified then.
Yeah.
So, including the ones you have at the atomic energy people, I mean, we took 5 patents, 10, 20, I mean, over your whole 50?
Oh, it'd be closer 20, I think.
20, yeah.
I've never applied for a patent that I didn't get.
Okay. Yeah.
We don't get frivolous patents or patents that we think are no good.
Right. Can I try that one?
Sure.
Thanks. I'll catch it at the end.
Yeah. Hey, which way have you got it turned?
I got it the wrong way.
Okay.
Whoa.
Strong, huh?
Strong, yeah. Which way should I have it turned?
Well, I see which way it likes.
Okay. See which one it likes. It's pulling it down here. Doesn't like that. So that would be. Do it again?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Go the other way.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, turn around.
It's a lot of force. God. What's the levitate? This is the weirdest being. I can see now why it's hard to get it on the track because of the magnetic forces.
Okay.
Okay. Wow. Some strong force. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, you see, has been made with magnets that are quite old.
Yeah.
I have shown it at engineering shows.
Right.
We paid $7,000 for each person that we had at the show.
Wow.
And one of the PhDs, I had my boy, and we got a physicist from Russia to watch over the exhibit. I didn't show up because I don't want something to be used against me in a patent,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Explanation. One of the guys that my son came to me and he said, I think you ought to talk to this one. He was a physicist with, it's a big airplane company that other than GE, I have his card, I think,
Yeah.
around
Do you have any
here.
rotating machines that are working?
Well, this one here, I guess, is the closest one I have. I didn't have enough magnets,
Right.
and I got a shipment, and it's warm weather, so I can use my cutting blade out. I have it on the back porch.
How long does it take you to machine each magnet? Do you have to like machine 2 or 3 and then maybe throw 2 away and only one you can use, or do you,
No.
do you nail each one? You get each one every time.
So far,
Yeah.
I've been able to cut them right off. It has water going on it, you know, to keep it cool.
Right. Right.
Does this one go around?
Yeah,
Does this one spin?
This one here,
Yeah.
How many more magnets do you need for this one, Howard?
well,
Give or take.
I can show you right here.
Yeah.
See here?
Yeah.
That's where that runs out. And I need enough to go all,
Go all the way around.
yeah.
Will you spin it again?
The thing that's important is that we need to embody the principles of this one.
Yeah.
And you see, I didn't have a lathe. I couldn't make anything circular.
Yeah.
This is sent to me by, I call him the concrete man. He's the man that made the machine that will finish concrete. You ever seen it? Well, he sold that for $18 million. And he sends me some equipment once in a while. He's got his boys up there trying to duplicate me,
Yeah.
so forth. They haven't been able to. But these magnets are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
And they're pretty powerful too.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
I can show you how powerful they are. Except
Oh.
and if they
Hold on here.
and if they get loose, they'll bite you.
Oh my God.
I give up.
So you know why Howard gets worn out working down here.
Yeah. So this is a complete assemblage,
Oh,
or just miscellaneous?
that's just miscellaneous.
Okay.
You ever have them fly across the room?
Well, I try to avoid that.
Are the specifications of the magnet very critical? I mean, you order only a certain type and a certain grade, and only 10% make the grade, or do you just buy them off the shelf, or?
Well, make a long story short, these are all imported.
Okay.
We don't make good magnets.
Yeah. Huh.
Where are they from?
China and Russia.
So if you were using the magnets that you get here in the States, this wouldn't work. You couldn't get it. They would not.
I haven't seen any. See, I just buy the best.
Yeah.
I think we could make them.
Is that what they give you? When you get a patent, the patent office gives you that plaque?
Back on the, I guess back to the question I asked about Tesla and magnetism. Did you find any of Tesla's work was relevant to the kind of magnetic work that you're doing at all, or?
No, he didn't have the tools that I had.
Okay.
He did some great things, but I haven't seen much of his work that was relevant. What do you think? You see this year, you see it operate. What do you think about it?
Pretty amazing.
You
Yeah.
see?
I mean, I was surprised at how strong the forces are.
Yeah.
I mean, when you put it, try and get it back down the track, it's almost like it's trying to levitate. You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it really gets there's some very significant forces involved.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
and we could double the forces involved. But it's hard enough to work with the way it is.
Yeah, yeah. Have you found that this, with magnetic forces, Howard, have you found that there are any healing properties of magnets? You know, a lot of them are sold to
I don't work with that part of it,
yeah,
but they have proved, and it's been proved for medical usage on bone breaks.
that's right, yeah, right,
See, number of years,
yeah, yeah,
I guess 20 years. No, you're on your own when we get in this kind of stuff.
yeah,
There's nobody that has published anything on the gate. See, the gate's a very simple thing in a way. If you know what it's doing,
yeah,
you can do wonderful things.
yeah,
I don't know all about it, but I know enough to use it,
right, right,
right?
right,
And you see, we've done all this work with a sensing device that was very good, and it measured the field, showed us all the different stuff. I tried to get the big publishing house in New York to publish the little book,
right.
and they wouldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, we'll republish it. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, we'll get it out there.
Well, you can see the way I work.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain a lot of what I'm doing, but I know how to make it work.
Yeah. Clearly. Yeah. Do you have an assistant that works with you, or
I don't know whether you call me an assistant, but
Howard points at Gladys?
She does real good for a Pennsylvania Dutch girl.
Oh, really? if I wanted to replicate, if I wanted to build a Howard Johnson magnetic motor, is that information in the patents? Or I have to come and ask you how to show me how to do it, or?
Well, it depends on who you are.
Yeah,
If you're still accepting the stuff that's 100 years out of date,
right,
you couldn't do it.
right. Yeah. I guess my question in a way is, eventually do you anticipate going into commercial production of units?
Well, I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I've gotten so old. Most of the people I knew are already dead,
Yeah.
and sometimes I think I'm well on the way.
Yeah.
But no, my main interest is this. And by the way, I have a Israeli representative that comes here regularly.
Okay.
And I mean, to help them have a source of energy.
Okay. Yeah, because obliquely, my question, the symbol of our publishing company with Tom, is Chenier Publishing, or whatever, Chenier Press, the symbol is a baton being passed from one runner to the next. And I guess obliquely my question relates to, who you're passing the knowledge on to,
Yeah.
to make sure it doesn't get buried or suppressed or...
Well,
I'm trying to be delicate about it, but...
we're not
Yeah.
trying to supply the Arabs.
Right, right. Yeah.
You know, I've had inquiries, a number from them,
Right,
and they've come from the islands and all kinds of places.
right.
So they know what they want,
Yeah,
but they don't know how to get it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Of course, as far as I'm concerned, they're not going to get it.
Right, right.
I think, to just give what I think on stuff, I think this is of importance to national security.
Yeah,
Very important.
yeah, clearly.
And I don't know.
Well, one thing is for sure, we're running out of oil.
Yeah,
I don't think coal's the answer, and I don't think nuclear's the answer. Yeah,
you know, I've worked for the atomic energy.
yeah,
And it's pitiful.
that's,
They're beating a dead horse.
yeah, yeah,
I think the Lord has given me the answer. And I don't know any other place they're going to get it.
Well, the other one that always amuses me is when they talk about solar power. When you have a cloudy day,
Yeah. Well, it shows what people do when they're pulling a perfect vacuum.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have to have something, so they'll latch on to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, the thing that's right here, the thing that makes that work can be made to work a lot better.
Howard, did you want to see this little thing over here on the floor?
My boy made this track.
Fantastic little cargo.
I'll totally do. You want me to push it? Some magic to it.
Go.
And it built up
It
for the
doesn't have much of a run.
Waiting at the train station, waiting for my train. Gonna take me away, take me away, take me away, take me away. Tears in my eyes, deep in my eyes, deep eyes, running here in my heart. Too bad, baby, gotta go. We gotta part. Can't wait now. Gotta go. Hear my train coming. Hear my train coming. Hear my train coming. Hear my train coming. I'm gonna leave this town. Gonna leave this town. Gonna live in my shoe. Be nice, I can give some to you. Oh, this time. Gotta go. 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 Hear my train coming. Hear my train coming.
That's the hope of the country as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
You see, if that's really known and understood,
Yeah.
we've got lots of material that we could make magnetic motors out of.
Yeah.
I checked that before I started.
Yeah.
And once we could begin to think in that kind of way, might make considerable improvements. Now here, we need to do enough work on that. Instead of one man and his wife being stuck with it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No outside financial sources to get materials. See, this was made for something else, and I just got it and tried to make it work with my stuff. But we're going to have to come alive and begin to face the facts. Windmills aren't the answer. I attended an energy conference which I was invited to for the UN. And you could get the talk in 40 different languages. Just regulated a dial on the thing and so forth. I ran a little car on a little unit about that long, you know, which I could carry with me. And I went up there, and when my turn came, I went down and I said, I'm going to give you an exhibition first before I talk, and I ran the little car back and forth. They said, well, would you talk to the press? And I decided I would. And when I went out there, there was a dozen or two television cameras all focused on me. I felt a little sympathetic for Ted Kennedy for the first time in my life. And so I ran the little car for him. And there was a PhD from some university they're supposed to talk to too. And they wouldn't give him the time of day. So we've showed off a few places. But there isn't anybody but Tom that has bought my work. And he started with this patent on that unit I showed you. And he's seen me work on a number of things.
Many years ago, when Howard first made his first rotary engine, Howard brought it down to Huntsville to show me. That was in the 70s. And we sat in my kitchen, and I played with this thing for 2 or 3 hours, just fascinated by it. There wasn't anything in it but permanent magnets, and it just sat there and it kerclonkety. It was part of it was crudely made. It just went kerclonkety, 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 and it kept right on going. Now, if something will run 2 hours, kerclonkety, kerclonkety, and there's nothing in it but permanent magnets, And it's got that much drag. The bearings weren't even good. He was using an old Lazy Susan, which poor bearings. Wasn't precision bearings at all. He just grabbed something and put the magnets he found that would work on. So there was no question about the reality of it. The question then was, how do you explain it? But Johnson knew about the exchange force. He knew exactly what he was trying to do. So Johnson was on, in fact, the proper scientific track that is permitted to build a self-rotating, self-powering magnetic engine. Permanent magnets only. But what it had was a successful set of assemblies that did precisely what he was talking about. As it came in here, attracting here with the overall north and south pole, the moment it got here, one of them flipped its spins. It caused it to flip its spin, and it repelled out the other side. So, and today we know that, you know, that's founded. That's got good scientific foundation. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is, if you want to get where the extra energy comes from once it self-rotates and not be called a perpetual motion nut or something, you've got to show that what you really have is, very precisely, is a non-equilibrium steady-state system, which means there's a steady-state input of energy to your system. Well, with the broken symmetry of opposite charges, a pole is just a magnetic charge. We now have the proof that a magnetic dipole does, in fact, take energy, virtual energy from the vacuum, and does put it out as observable energy.
You know, there's a fellow at the patent office, he was quoting the old stuff, you know. And he used every opportunity to stall my work and everything else. And finally, you see, when I presented it to 3 judges on the federal court, why, they gave him a remand on it, that if I'd have been him, I'd have quit. Because they told him he had to demonstrate what he was saying, and I was wrong. Well, he couldn't do it, you know. So they put him out of business. But I've had to go to extreme efforts to get those things. I even had the president to write a letter for me.
President?
I wrote and asked him if this is the way the patent office is supposed to be run, and gave him the facts. And he wrote a letter wanting to know when the patent would be out and so on. And he got them so scared up that they appended the last page of somebody else's patent ahead of mine to mine, and I admitted it.
Which president was this?
That fellow from Georgia.
Carter. Huh.
I didn't even vote for him, and I didn't tell him that. So. I thought I had a pretty good case, so I pushed it.
Yeah.
Well, what do you recommend?
Well, I felt the publishing of Tom Bearden's book was very important.
Yeah.
Because there's so much I mean, you can look at the phenomenology and you can say, well, you know, yeah, blah, 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 and so forth. But the beauty of what Tom does is he's really hardcore about putting the theory behind it.
Yeah,
So you have the phenomenology that works,
yeah,
and then you have a theory behind which may only be a first order of magnitude or the first draft, but at least it's something which
Yeah.
no one else has come up with.
yeah,
And guess what? No one else ever comes up with anything. You
yeah.
know, people talk about Tom Bearden, and it's all slanderous attacks and ad hominem attacks, but no one will ever refute what Tom actually writes.
Yeah,
You know, so you have the theory. I mean, you have the practical demonstrations, and some of your theory as well. And then you have Tom's writings. So all of this was put together in this book. You know, and we got that out.
yeah,
And I felt that was kind of a milestone.
yeah.
I mean, I'm a little bit involved, so my opinion is somewhat biased. But and of course you're mentioned quite prominently in the book, and as are other people. But I felt, like he calls it, it's a field that is not a field. It's a newly emerging field, the field of free energy, and so I think history will look very kindly on Tom Bearden and yourself and some of the other pioneers. And as I said, for every one man looking at the future, there's 10,000 men guarding the past.
Yeah,
And I think the documentary will help. I think this will help. As I said, because this is really the film of the book.
yeah,
You know, so we got the book out, and I see. Did you film the book there?
Oh no, I didn't see
You
that.
should get a shot of the book over there. Yeah, this is. You know, we've got the book out. We're doing the documentary.
yeah,
I'll republish your book as well. Hopefully, be able to get that out with the film as well. So the more, I mean, the cockroaches can't flourish where you shine the light.
yeah,
That's sort of the way I look at it. And they're not all cockroaches. I mean, there's a certain amount of inertia as well.
yeah,
So I think the mainstream media aren't going to touch this stuff. You know, I've tried and you've tried. I'm sure. You know, you may get a little blip in regional coverage, but generally, the major media you won't see it on, the nightly news. So you have to go to the kind of the alternate media and the alternate publishing, and the internet has helped a lot as well. We're very thankful for the internet because they can't keep a lid on that. And I just think the more publicity the stuff gets, then people will start. And what we've targeted the young students, the graduate students, and and we have a sponsor that's put up several thousands of dollars, and for qualified students, we give away a free copy of Tom's book. So and we've given away a fair number of them right now, and from all over the world. So these are people that are interested, that have curious minds. And they all know the kids all know there's an energy problem when they see the gas prices. I mean, gas is $6 a gallon in Europe, in England.
yeah,
So this is no secret. And it doesn't take a mental giant to see the problems with nuclear and coal and windmills and solar and so forth.
I told you we have a fellow that comes here from,
From Israel?
yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, you mentioned that.
yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
he's very much interested.
Yeah. Well, they have no oil, see, Israel.
That's,
You look at the nations that have no oil. You got Japan, Israel, France, England. The oil is on the decline in the North Sea. The discovery of peak oil peaked in the 1960s. Most of the major oil fields have already been found, and most of them have been depleted. So, we have a problem. And I think circumstances will dictate that people will eventually be looking at work such as this.
yeah,
Necessity. I mean,
absolutely.
this when you first started, this wasn't a necessity, as you pointed out.
That's right.
But now, we're looking at the last dying gasps of the oil age. That's what's going on right now.
I said when gasoline got to be $2 a gallon, that we might move.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, you've got the patents, which is good. You know, you've been writing about this for a long time. I think we can reissue the book. Tom's book is out there. We've got the documentary coming, and Tom's website. You know, there's a section about you on Tom's website.
Yeah.
We get 40,000 hits a day. I mean, that's not necessarily people. It's an electronic hit.
Yeah.
But we get maybe up to 1,000 visitors a day just looking at the website. Well, this is stimulating interest all over the world. I mean, it's showing people that there is an alternative, and they're going to take a look at it and study it. They're going to want to know more about it, which is why your book is good, because it will tell people more about the fundamentals, you know, from which you developed your methodology. And I mean, the pulse that you're talking about going through the magnetic gate. I mean, that's pretty interesting. I never knew that. You know,
I can't. Well, it's like this Dean, J.B. Jones.
yeah,
He wrote the book on energy.
yeah,
That was the text in all the universities all over.
right.
And he's watch mine. He didn't have the guts to come out with it, saying he favored it because it would ruin his book.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but he'd have me to speak each year and so forth to the students.
I think it was Sophocles, the Greek philosopher Sophocles, that said it's a wise man who knows what he doesn't know.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, I had not realized in academia, because I don't have a very strong academic background, but I had not realized just how rigid some of the academic thinking is.
yeah,
And the more qualified the person, the more rigid the thinking.
yeah,
That's that's why you were so right that you wanted to talk to the freshmen, you know, not the guys going out the back end,
that's right.
because they'd already been indoctrinated. But get the guys with the young, malleable minds. But the problem is, for them to earn a living anywhere, they're going to have to learn all this other stuff just to make a living.
Yeah.
So the thing is to at least be able to stimulate them thinking on a parallel track.
I've had some of those students to write me after they got out in industry.
Yeah. All right.
He built the most, over the years and years and years, he built the most astounding sets of complicated nonlinear magnetic assembly build-ups you ever heard of. These are definitely not standard type magnetic motor stuff. And he's after the exchange force. Johnson is specifically after that exchange force. He wants to get a pulse of energy that momentarily is about 400 to 500 times as strong as that magnetic field from that magnet, just for a little quick pulse. And he did do it a couple of times. By the way, after that one that he brought down here to Huntsville when I lived in the other house and I played with in my kitchen, on my kitchen table so long, Johnson later had a break-in into his lab. And with all these magnetic assemblies, like these big things you see, and probably $150,000 to $200,000 worth of magnets and magnet assemblies, only one thing they took that little turntable. So they knew exactly what they were after when they went in there.
Jacks are all in the boxes, and the clouds have all gone to bed. You can hear happiness staggering on down the street. Footprints dressed in red, and the wind whispers Mary. broken pieces of yesterday's life. Somewhere a queen is weeping. Somewhere a king has no wife, and the wind cries merry. The traffic lights, they turn blue tomorrow and shine the emptiness down my beard. The tiny island sags downstream because the life they live is dead, and the wind screams merry. Will the wind ever remember all the names it has blown in the past? With this crutch, old age, and this wisdom, well, it screams, no, this will be the last, and the wind cries merry.
Tom Bearden said you once silenced a chainsaw.
Yeah.
So you were into noise cancellation quite a bit, as well as, or that was just kind of a side project, or?
No, that's for a while. That I made mufflers,
Okay.
and we could make mufflers that sounds a chainsaw, sounds an outboard motor.
Huh.
In fact, we sounds an air hammer
Really? Yeah.
breaking up concrete.
Yeah.
And I did that for a company in Chicago. Well, the fella that I did business with got to operating with Congress, and they had a symposium on sound,
Yeah.
and he invited me up there.
Yeah.
So I went up, and he told him about that, and we sounds unit for the what's the intelligence?
CIA, DIA, NSA, National Reconnaissance Office.
As the CIA,
Okay.
and they had a little motor that they'd tried to get silence, taking it to MIT. That's where everybody goes, you know.
Yeah.
To the West Coast, somebody out there. And finally they showed it to a dean at Johns Hopkins.
Yeah.
And he is familiar with my work.
Yeah.
He had said it wouldn't work, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it not only worked, but he kept it a while and tested it. He said, there's just one difference in my mufflers and yours. I said, what's that? He says, yours work and mine doesn't.
Yeah.
So they got around to him with this unit that had to be quiet, undetectable, in an office. And he said, there's only one person that I know that can silence that, and I don't know where he is.
Yeah.
Then a fellow visited some work I was doing for Atomic Energy. He went up there and told him that he had seen me and I was at Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
So he called me and told me he had this thing. And I got it and ran some figures. I got good engineering numbers from the men that had been trying to get it silenced.
Yeah.
Been going from one company to another.
Yeah.
So on. And I went up to the factory and based on, he got me good numbers. Based on that, why, they had their model maker to modify their effort. And we got it. Well, we tested it. And the thing picked up speed when you put the muffler on it. If you use the proper method of gating the shock waves and so forth, you can do that.
Huh. It's interesting.
They went kind of wild.
Yeah. So you were doing the silencing with a magnetic gate?
Pardon?
When you what methodology were you using to do the silencing? Was it magnetic?
No.
No. Okay.
I use microwave technology.
Okay. Howard, have you read any of the works of Tesla? Was any of Tesla's work of any interest to you or relevant to what you do?
Well, I've been quite interested in it. I've gotten all of it that I could get.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he could do it. The company that I silenced, this little unit for the intelligence, you know.
Right.
Oh, they were super secret. They couldn't tell me who it was for and all this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I silenced it and they started using it. And they had a letter contract with me that they had to pay so much. They violated that.
Huh.
And so I knew where it was being tested. I went to the Army fort in New Jersey, and it was for a little motor, just small outfit.
Yeah.
And I went up there and asked the fellows if they were building any of those small motors. He said, "Hey, Jack, we making any of that CI stuff?" I found out who it was for, see.
Yeah,
He never had told me.
Yeah, yeah.
I get this telephone call from the fellow said he represented the CIA. Asked him where he was. He said he was at such and such a hotel. Well, I was living in New Jersey at the time. I said, well, I'll just hop on a bus and come over. And I went over there and he put a radio against the door and fiddled with the telephone and I don't know, that and the other. And then he asked me, how did I know that it was for the CIA? I wouldn't tell him. He said, why don't you work for us? I said, well, so far it's not been very profitable.
Yeah.
You've been violating the letter contract and all that. And so I wouldn't tell him. He said, why don't you work for us? And I said, so far it's not been very profitable.
Yeah.
So I went on my way and he laid down a curse on me. He said, if you say anything about this, I'll see you never get a government contract and blah, blah, blah. And I just ignored him.
Yeah.
That introduced me to
You filming?
our mutual friend.
Right.
You know the story on that?
I may have, but I've forgotten it.
Well, I did this for the Lincoln Continental people. And when Tom saw the patent, he realized that this wasn't business as usual.
Yeah.
So he called me. And he said, congratulated me on the patent. It had been well drawn. And I had to go to special patent lawyers in Detroit get it. He said, you know what you're using there? He said, you're using the A field. I said, I am? I didn't even know it existed. He said, you don't need to, you're getting along very well. They had to have something that would activate the brakes on the Lincoln Continental and would do it at 2 miles an hour. Well, that doesn't give you very much latitude.
Right.
So it's wound up with me making a 92-pole generator that would go on the axle of the car, and whenever it got down to 2 or 3 miles an hour, it'd activate the brakes. You can feel it pull in there.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
They wanted to pass the test, and the junk they were using wouldn't work at low voltage, low speed.
Right, right.
So they gave me a pretty free hand, and I got this unit made that had 92 poles in it, and they were used to having a car on the lift, you know.
Right, right.
And they'd put these units off and on. And there was a big mouth mechanic that every time he went through the garage, there's a quiet spot behind him, you know.
Yeah.
And so they had the car on the lift, and he ran up and disconnected the unit
Right.
that was working there. And it suddenly cut the noise off, and he hit the concrete. It was going fast enough. It was on the drive line.
Yeah.
Goes faster than the other. And from then on, this was known as the mighty transducer, because it's knocked him on the concrete. See, some of your best evidence you don't even get,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is the generator, and this attracted Tom's attention.
Right.
We've been friends ever since.
Yeah.
What year Lincoln is that on?
Oh, good night.
In the 60s, wouldn't it?
Probably.
Like something like 68 or something like that.
Yeah.
And because the car people couldn't understand it, they wanted to make everything mechanical.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used this to pass their test when Ford had told them not to come back anymore
Yeah.
with their unit, because it wouldn't work at that low voltage,
Yeah.
and it would misfire if they went across a railroad track.
Yeah.
And one of the vice presidents of sales is the mighty force in the car business, you know.
Yeah.
He came down to try the car out. And he ran it. And he threw the brakes on when it had a unit in the line, you know.
Yeah.
And then he said, disconnect it, and I'm going to drive it. Well, when he threw the brake on, instead of it leveling off, you know, he wound a brand new Lincoln into a steel telephone pole. And the fellow that rode herd on our electronics, he took a dim view of that and quit the company. He's back there with all the electronic equipment. And see, you don't know what hazards you're going to run into or what idiot's going to
Yeah.
do something. That was a brand new Lincoln and didn't have anything done to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can see the way this works.
Yeah.
And then finally, I decided that they weren't going to make it work. They were just draining the government for millions of dollars.
The Atomic Energy Commission were. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're making all this silly stuff. So I finally sat down and just wrote a letter to the General Motors man that was head of the Defense Department.
McNamara? Robert McNamara?
No,
Somebody else?
he was the General Motors man that was
Oh.
over him. And I told him that they're just spending money and figuring out ways to spend some more, and that it didn't have any hope of a final achievement. And you know what? I just wrote that little letter and sent it in the general mail. And very shortly, about 40 accountants came in from Washington and began to look at every different part of that program. And they abandoned some of their papers that were written by MIT guys, and they were published secret, you know, everything's secret, secret, secret. I finally told the girl not to put anything that had secret on it on my desk. If it hadn't had the fresh winds of competition to blow on it, I didn't need it. He abandoned the project. It never did go anywhere.
Yeah.
They had secret papers based on the airplane going at Mach 1 speeds and going to Mach 2 tied to a rope. Yeah, because they couldn't make it safe for people to ride with it, you know.
Right.
It's unbelievable how this kind of stuff hangs on. It has a life all its own,
Yeah.
right?
Right.